The Galactic Council pushed too far when they killed 17 scientists on Europa, igniting humanity's defiance. In a stunning reversal, Ambassador Miller revealed Earth's secret alliance with other subjugated species and their fleet's strategic positioning throughout Council space. With hybrid technology neutralizing the Council's advantage, humanity forced a new galactic order built on equality rather than domination. The observation deck of the Concordia space station offered a breathtaking view of the distant neutron star, its pulsating blue light casting rhythmic shadows across the gathered diplomats. Ambassador John Miller stood at the edge of the transparent aluminum window, his weathered face reflected against the backdrop of infinite space. Beside him, Earth Alliance President Lisa Carter adjusted her formal attire, a simple but elegant navy suit adorned with the newly designed Earth Alliance insignia, a stylized globe encircled by olive branches and stars. 3 months, Miller mused, breaking the contemplative silence. 3 months since first contact, and here we stand as probationary members of the Galactic Council. Carter nodded, her expression a careful mask of diplomatic neutrality. Humanity's greatest achievement, or perhaps our greatest challenge. The Council representatives are waiting, announced an aide, a young woman whose excitement couldn't be contained despite her professional demeanor. They're ready to begin the first formal session. As they turned from the observation deck toward the Council chambers, Miller caught Carter's eye. They both understood the weight of this moment. 50 billion human lives across Earth and its nascent colonies now rested on their diplomatic skills. The Council chamber was a marvel of alien architecture, a perfect dome with 17 elevated seats arranged in a semicircle, each occupied by a representative of the founding species. The chamber floor was inlaid with materials that seemed to shift colors with each step, while above, a holographic representation of the known galaxy slowly rotated, stars and systems glowing with different intensities to represent their political significance. At the center of the semicircle sat Zelther, the current Council chair judge. His exoskeleton gleamed with an iridescent purple that Miller had learned indicated formal proceedings. The chair judge's 4 upper appendages remained perfectly still in what Miller recognized as a posture of authority among his species. President Carter, Ambassador Miller. Zelther's voice came through their translation devices with a synthetic smoothness. The Galactic Council welcomes Earth's representatives to this historic session. Carter stepped forward, her posture straight and confident. On behalf of humanity and the Earth Alliance, we are honored to join this esteemed body as probationary members. We look forward to a future of mutual cooperation and shared advancement. The pleasantries lasted precisely 11 minutes. Miller had timed similar openings with other species, before Zelther's exoskeleton shifted to a more businesslike blue-green. The Council has deliberated on the terms of Earth's probationary membership, Zelther announced. As with all emergent spacefaring civilizations, certain safeguards must be implemented to ensure galactic stability. A holographic document materialized in the air before Carter and Miller. As they read through the terms, Miller felt a growing sense of unease. Limitation on weapons development, Carter read aloud, her voice steady despite the restrictive nature of the clause. Permanent observation of all research facilities, and a contribution of 30% of all extracted resources. A murmur rippled through the chamber as various council members shifted in their seats. Miller studied their reactions, noting which species seemed uncomfortable with these terms and which appeared satisfied. These are standard provisions, explained Zelther, his translator conveying a tone of reassurance. All probationary members must demonstrate their commitment to peaceful integration with the galactic community. Carter's diplomatic training was evident as she maintained her composure. And what does Earth receive in return for these considerable concessions? Protection, answered a representative from a crystalline species to Zelther's right. Access to established trade routes. the opportunity to learn from species who have navigated space for millennia. And technology sharing? Carter pressed. Medical advances? Defense capabilities? In time, Zelter responded. Once Earth has proven its value and commitment to Council principles. Miller watched as Carter weighed her response. He could almost see the political calculations running behind her eyes, the expectations of Earth's population, the pressure from military advisors who would balk at these restrictions, the scientific community that would resist oversight. The Earth Alliance requests time to review these terms in detail. Carter finally said, "We appreciate the Council's standardized approach, but surely you understand that each civilization has unique needs and contributions." Zelther's exoskeleton rippled slightly. Of course. The Council grants Earth's representatives 48 hours for consultation. However, we must emphasize that these terms have proven effective for the integration of all previous probationary members. As they exited the chamber, Miller kept his voice low. Did you notice how they use the word integration rather than cooperation? Carter's eyes narrowed slightly. I did, and I'm beginning to wonder what exactly we're being integrated into. The next 6 months brought a steady escalation of Council demands. What began as a 30% resource contribution grew to 35%. Then 40% as the Council cited administrative costs and security concerns. Military observation expanded from major bases to include all vessels above a certain tonnage. Even Earth's communication networks came under scrutiny, with Council observers requesting access to monitor for destabilizing content. In her office aboard the Concordia, Carter paced as Miller delivered the latest requirements. They want oversight of our educational curricula now? She asked incredulously. To ensure proper understanding of galactic history and protocols? Miller nodded grimly. And they've denied our third petition for access to their medical database, despite the fact that we've already contributed significant research on human immunology. Carter stopped pacing and stared out at the stars. Something isn't right, John. This feels less like a partnership and more like subjugation, Miller finished. I've been compiling data on previous probationary members. The pattern is concerning. Tell me. Miller activated his datapad, projecting a series of charts. The Veltraxians joined 50 years ago, initially spacefaring with colonies on 3 systems. Today, they're restricted to their home system, with Council administrators overseeing their government. That could be coincidence, Carter suggested, though her tone lacked conviction. The Nor Collective? 11 systems when they joined, now 4, with the others designated as resource reserves under direct Council management. The Hyderians, their military reduced to a nominal defense force, their research institutes staffed with Council advisors. Carter's expression darkened. And they all agreed to this? That's the interesting part, Miller replied. I can't find any record of formal agreements for these changes. They happened gradually, always justified by some crisis or necessity. The door chimed, interrupting their conversation. Dr. Susan Wright, Earth's leading xenobiologist and the newest addition to their diplomatic team, entered with an expression that immediately put Miller on alert. Madam President, Ambassador, she began, her voice tight with suppressed emotion. I've discovered something you need to see. Wright placed a small data crystal on Carter's desk. This was given to me by a Veltraxian researcher. He risked everything to smuggle it out of their archives. The holographic display flickered to life, showing documents in various alien scripts with translation overlays. Miller leaned forward, scanning the content with growing alarm. These are internal Council documents, he breathed. Assessment reports on probationary species. Look at the methodology section, Wright urged, her finger trembling slightly as she pointed to a specific passage. Carter read aloud. The domestication protocol has proven effective across all test cases. Initial resource extraction must be significant enough to create dependency, but not severe enough to trigger resistance. Cultural integration follows predictable patterns when proper information control is established. She looked up, her face pale. Domestication? They're not integrating new species. Right, said quietly. They're conquering them, slowly, methodically, without firing a shot. Miller felt cold dread settling in his stomach. The council isn't a cooperative, it's an empire. Over the next year, the pattern became unmistakable. The asteroid belt mining quota increased to 40%. When Earth scientists discovered promising biological compounds on Europa, the Council declared the Moon a protected zone due to potential contamination concerns, effectively blocking human access. Research initiatives that showed particular promise were suddenly subject to additional oversight or equipment shortages. In response, President Carter authorized Operation Breakwater, a classified initiative to establish communications with other probationary members outside official council channels. Ambassador Miller found himself in clandestine meetings with representatives from species he'd previously only seen in council chambers, exchanging information and building a network of the discontented. Meanwhile, Dr. Wright led a team analyzing council technology, identifying vulnerabilities that might prove useful if diplomacy failed. The work was dangerous. Any discovery of these efforts would give the Council justification for more severe restrictions. Then came the Europa disaster. The research station on Jupiter's moon had been operating under protest, maintaining a skeleton crew to assert Earth's presence despite Council restrictions. 17 scientists continued their work on extremophile organisms found beneath the ice. Research that promised breakthroughs in medicine and environmental remediation. Miller was in a meeting with Veltraxian representatives when the news came through. A Council enforcement vessel, claiming to have detected unauthorized weapon signatures, had fired warning shots at the station's exterior shell. In the near-vacuum atmosphere of Europa, the structural damage was catastrophic. 17 of humanity's brightest minds, killed in an instant. The images from Europa spread across Earth and its colonies like wildfire. The broken dome, the bodies recovered in spacesuits, the personal effects gathered for grieving families. Public opinion, which had been divided on council membership, unified in outrage. President Carter called an emergency meeting of the Earth Alliance Security Council. For the first time since taking office, she ordered a complete communications blackout with Concordia Station. The Council is claiming it was an accident, Defense Secretary Paul Jackson reported, his face grim on the secure view screen. They've offered compensation and review of enforcement protocols. Carter's expression was stone. 17 lives, some of our finest minds, and they offer compensation? They're following their playbook, Miller added. Create an incident, express regret, then use it to justify further restrictions. I guarantee their next communication will include concerns about extremist elements among our population and the need for temporary security measures. Not this time, Carter said, her voice quiet but firm. Humanity will not be domesticated. She turned to Jackson. Is Operation Defiance ready? Jackson nodded. The fleet is positioned. Our allies are standing by. We can begin within 6 hours. Miller watched as the president closed her eyes briefly, the weight of her decision evident in every line of her face. When she opened them again, they burned with resolve. The council pushed too far, she said. Commence Operation Defiance. What followed was not the military confrontation the council might have expected. Instead, Earth launched a coordinated technological assault. The hybrid systems Dr. Wright's team had developed, combining council technology with human innovation, bypassed security protocols that the council had considered impenetrable. Captain Kate Summers led the Earth fleet in a precision operation that blockaded council supply stations throughout the Sol system. The vessels didn't fire a single shot. They simply established position and transmitted a simple message. Europa will be remembered. Simultaneously, The network Miller had established with other probationary species activated. The Veltraxians reclaimed control of their orbital platforms. The Nor Collective shut down resource shipments. The Hyderians recalled their representatives from council facilities. On Concordia Station, Chair Judge Zelther's exoskeleton had shifted to an alarming red-orange, a color Miller had never observed before, as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. "This is unprecedented," Zelther declared when Miller finally agreed to meet. "A coordinated rebellion by probationary members violates every protocol. Just as the killing of our scientists violated every principle of the partnership we thought we were entering." Miller replied calmly. "Humanity will not be domesticated. Chair Judge, neither will the Veltraxians, the Nor Collective, or any of the other species you've attempted to subjugate. The Council offers sincere regrets for the Europa incident." "The Council offers words," Miller interrupted. "Meanwhile, your actions speak clearly. We've seen your documents, Zelther. We know about the domestication protocol." The chair judge's appendages froze in what Miller recognized as a gesture of shock. "How did you—" "We may be newcomers to galactic politics, but humanity has millennia of experience with empires and resistance. You should have studied our history more carefully before attempting to add us to your collection." Miller placed a data crystal on the table between them. "This contains our terms. The Alliance of Free Species will meet the Council at Epsilon 9 in 14 days. We suggest you prepare for substantial reforms." As Miller turned to leave, Zelther's translator conveyed a tone of warning. "The Council has faced rebellions before. Ambassador, they did not end well for the rebels." Miller paused at the door. "This isn't a rebellion, Chair Judge. It's a renegotiation. And you should understand something fundamental about humans. We're at our most creative, our most determined, and our most dangerous when pushed too far. The Epsilon 9 system, with its twin yellow suns and sparse planetary bodies, had long served as neutral territory for various galactic entities. As Earth vessels arrived alongside ships from 17 formerly probationary species, the system became a symbol of changing power dynamics. President Carter had transferred her flag to the EAS Defiance, Earth's newest and most advanced vessel. The ship represented humanity's rapid technological advancement since first contact, incorporating both human ingenuity and adapted Council technology. "Council vessels approaching," reported the tactical officer. 17 ships. Formation suggests diplomatic rather than combat stance." Carter nodded. "Open a channel to Ambassador Miller's shuttle." Miller's face appeared on the main view screen, his shuttle en route to the designated meeting station. "Madam President." "They've arrived with a show of force disguised as protocol," Carter observed. "One ship for each founding member." "And we've arrived with reality," Miller replied with a slight smile. "The combined fleet of 18 probationary species who refuse to be probationary any longer." Carter's expression remained serious. "Be careful, John. They've had centuries to perfect their negotiation tactics. And we've had months to prepare our countermeasures," he assured her. "Dr. Wright's team has confirmed that our communication security is holding. The Council can't monitor our coordination channels." The meeting station, a repurposed asteroid with artificial gravity and life support, had been prepared by Hyderian engineers, ensuring no Council surveillance systems were present. As representatives from both sides gathered in the central chamber, the contrast was striking. The Council delegation uniform in their formal attire and demeanor. The Alliance representatives diverse in both appearance and expression. Zelther, still serving as chair judge despite the crisis, began the proceedings. "This Council has maintained galactic peace for over 2,000 years. The current disruption threatens the stability all species depend upon." "Peace maintained through subjugation is not peace," countered the Veltraxian representative. "It is merely the absence of visible conflict." "The Council has nurtured developing species. The Council has harvested developing species," Miller interrupted. Taking our resources, restricting our growth, all while claiming protection and guidance. That arrangement ends today. Zelther's exoskeleton shifted to a deep purple. The Council presents its final terms. All vessels will stand down. Resource quotas will be temporarily reduced as a gesture of goodwill. A joint commission will investigate the unfortunate Europa incident. In return, no punitive action will be taken against the leadership of this alliance. A murmur ran through the chamber as the alliance representatives exchanged glances. Miller stepped forward. Perhaps you misunderstand the situation. Chair Judge, we are not here to surrender. We are here to establish a new framework for galactic cooperation, one based on actual cooperation, not domination. He gestured, and a holographic display activated, showing hundreds of vessels positioned throughout Council space. While we've been talking, Allied ships have moved into position near every major Council supply route and communication hub. We don't wish to activate our system's disruptors, but we are prepared to do so. The Council representatives shifted uncomfortably as the implications became clear. Their technological advantage, long used to maintain control, had been compromised. What exactly do you propose? Asked a representative from one of the more moderate Council species. Carter stepped forward to stand beside Miller. A new charter, equal voting rights for all member species, reparations for the Europa incident and similar accidents across Alliance worlds, and the dissolution of the enforcement arm, to be replaced by a mutual defense alliance with proportional representation. Impossible, Zelther declared. The founding species have earned their position through millennia of... The founding species have maintained their position through millennia of systematic oppression. Carter cut in. That ends now, or the Council itself ends. The choice is yours. The negotiations lasted 7 days. 7 days of threats and counteroffers, of walkouts and reluctant returns to the table. Throughout, the Allied fleet maintained its positions, a constant reminder of the new reality the Council faced. In the end, the new charter was signed, not with enthusiasm from the Council representatives, but with resignation, and from some of the younger Council species, with poorly concealed relief. As vessels departed the Epsilon 9 system, now as nominal, equals under galactic law, Miller stood on the observation deck of the Defiance beside President Carter. Will it last? Carter asked quietly. Miller considered the question. Not without vigilance. 2,000 years of entrenched power won't disappear overnight, but we've created the framework for something better. At a cost, Carter said. Her thoughts clearly with the scientists lost on Europa and others who had sacrificed during the year-long standoff. Yes, Miller agreed, but their sacrifice prevented a greater loss. The slow extinction of our independence, our creativity, our very humanity. He gestured to the view screen, where ships of various designs and origins moved in loose formation, no longer segregated by founding or probationary status. And not just for us, for all the species who would have followed us into the Council's cage. On Earth and its colonies, the day the new charter was signed became known as Defiance Day. Memorial services for the Europa scientists were held worldwide, their names enshrined in history as the catalysts for humanity's greatest diplomatic achievement. In the decades that followed, the galaxy experienced growing pains as power redistributed more equitably. Former Council enforcers found themselves answerable to combined fleet commands. Resource-rich worlds previously designated as reserves negotiated their own terms of trade. Scientific cooperation flourished as knowledge previously hoarded by Council archives became widely available. And humanity, having proven both its resolve and its capacity for coalition building, emerged as a significant influence in galactic affairs, not through conquest or subjugation, but through a simple, powerful truth that had guided Earth's own turbulent history. When pushed too far, people will refuse to compromise on their fundamental freedoms. 5 years after the signing of the new charter, Ambassador Miller returned to the observation deck of Concordia Station, now repurposed as the headquarters for the Galactic Alliance. The neutron star still pulsed its rhythmic blue light across the gathered diplomats, some from species Miller had never encountered during the Council era. President Gary Williams, Carter's successor, joined him at the transparent aluminum window. "Quite a view, isn't it? Both literally and figuratively." Miller nodded. "From here, you can almost see the future taking shape." "A future we nearly lost," Williams remarked. "Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we'd simply accepted the Council's terms from the beginning." Miller's gaze remained fixed on the distant star. "We would have survived, I suppose. Humanity is nothing if not adaptable. But we wouldn't have thrived, and neither would the Veltraxians, the Nor Collective, or any of the others who found their voice because we refused to be silenced." "The Council pushed too far," Williams said, echoing Carter's words from years earlier. "Yes," Miller agreed. "And in doing so, they discovered something fundamental about humans that countless Earth empires learned before them." "What's that?" Miller turned from the window, his weathered face reflecting the determination that had carried humanity through its darkest hour. "That true strength isn't found in domination, but in the refusal to be dominated. And when pushed to our limits, we don't break, we push back." As they turned to enter the Alliance chamber, where representatives of 34 species now gathered as equals, Miller felt a sense of completion. The journey from probationary members to architects of a new galactic order had been costly, but the prize, freedom not just for humanity, but for all species who valued self-determination, was worth every sacrifice. In the great tapestry of human history, the defiance of the Galactic Council would be remembered not just as humanity's entry onto the galactic stage, but as the moment when humanity brought its most cherished values: liberty, equality, and the right to determine one's own destiny, to the stars themselves.